Hello everybody, I'm TychoCelchuuu. Welcome to a Company of Heroes 2 shoutcast. Today we have, oh, he's not moving his stuff. Sluzbenik is playing as Noise of Carpet, and he's the Germans, and he's up against Dave from the Lade clan, playing as the Soviets, and we are on Moscow outskirts summer, as you can see, or Moscow outskirts fall, or whatever. I guess it's fall. Look at the trees. Those look like fall trees, and this is the first shoutcast I've made since the latest patch. The latest patch relics attempt to balance the clown cars and also to balance Soviet weapon teams. They did this by nerfing Soviet weapon team damage, and also they gave 4 men to all the German weapon teams. Not the greatest idea if you ask me. And then they tried to nerf the clown cars by making their guns less accurate, which I heard also makes the people inside the clown cars less accurate, although I don't have any confirmation on that. And then also there's a 50% chance for each person inside the car to die when it explodes, and that's per person, not per squad, so it's not like 50% chance you lose the squad. But aside from that, there are also some miscellaneous balance tweaks and stuff like that, but those were the big changes. The German weapon teams is a really big one. It makes the MG42 really powerful in the early game, because even if you manage to flank it, you're gonna have to kill 4 people. It's like fighting the Maxim all over again, basically. So a lot of austere players pretty thrilled about that sort of thing. So we have a pretty standard 2 conscript opening from Dave. We're gonna have to see whether he goes up to 3 or 4 conscripts. 3 slightly more common for rushing to the clown car, 4 if you're going to go at infantry heavy strat, and then 2 pioneers right off the bat from Noise of Carpet, or Sluzbenik maybe I should call him, and MG42 after his Grenadier squad. So this replay was downloaded from coh2.org, so check that out. It's a pretty sweet fan site, and right into the building for the pioneers. They have yet to nerf buildings as cover versus small arms fire, so we'll have to see whether Relic, I'm sure they'll, people whine about it so much, I'm sure they'll eventually change it. Right now you're just so powerful in a building that you can hang out there forever. These guys are actually getting fairly hurt. I mean, I say fairly hurt relatively, right? Their health bar is perfectly fine. It's just like, normally you're so powerful in a building that you barely have to worry about it, but that gives them the ability to hang out here 100% of the time and watch as this is capped. They could have just hopped out back here, and of course you can still see on the tactical map that this thing would be flashing, so even though True Sight would block them from having vision over here, they would still be able to see when their opponent had captured it. But for whatever reason, Noise of Carpet, Sluzbenik wanted to stick around in this house, maybe get a little bit of damage in on the conscripts. Not really sure why he's doing that. He's staying here probably because he sees these conscripts. Yeah, he can see the conscripts because you get massive sight when you're in building, so he's probably just doing this. I guess he wanted to hold the house until his MG42 got there, but later he decided to reposition because he saw these conscripts coming over along the side. Dave hopped the fence, good job there, but Dave's busy microing somewhere else, I suppose. Oh, those are engineers on the left, by the way. Busy microing over here with the Molotov, so I'm sure he'll get back to the squad soon. But until then, he's letting this MG42 get set up. So Oster pushed a bit off the right. They still have the Grenadier squad here, so they can potentially do some damage. Stick around for a while, but if they get converged on by these 2 conscript squads, that's not going to happen, and in any case he's going to lose the fuel. So map control looking better for Soviets at this point. Dave still hasn't gotten around to moving this engineer. Finally they're moving. I guess he was busy doing all sorts of stuff. Tough to know. These guys are like right on top of each other. Not anymore though, but they were really friendly. So maybe we'll see a pincer movement from these Grenadiers. These guys are a little exposed. No support from these. I guess he's holding this because he expects aggression here or something, or maybe just Dave can't keep all his units moving at once. I don't know, he doesn't have a lot of units yet, so it shouldn't be too hard yet. But it looks like we are going to get the flank going in. We have an LMG-42 over there firing at them, and then the other Grenadiers are coming up from behind. But instead we'll watch this for a while, and then back over here, whoop, forces the retreat. Anyway, so Dave's like, yeah, there's no way I'm going to win the fight against these people. Just to even get close enough to throw a Molotov, you'd have to take a fair amount of damage, and then once he saw those other Grenadiers coming in from behind, that would be the end. But typically if it was a one-on-one fight, you could imagine these conscripts getting close enough to throw a Molotov, especially if they could throw it from here. If you can stay in yellow cover while you do it, that's good, and not have to run across the road. But throwing a Molotov is really great against the LMG-42 Grenadiers because they have to reposition or burn to death, and when you're repositioning you can't fire the LMG-42, so that's one of the reasons to get Molotov up. So Russians doing what the Russians do best, building some mines early on, and also they got a flamethrower on those guys. Kind of a weird fight this match. LMG-42 doing some real work. We haven't seen any huge engagements, just mostly people getting pushed off, and really questionable use of Russian troops the entire time. I guess he finally got a Molotov off. Wasn't waiting for the munitions. You see he's got... Look, maybe he was. Wasn't waiting for the munitions. You see he's got 25 in the bank. Still there's some people here too. Oh, they get retreated fast enough, so... Hung up on the fence though. That guy did some weird stuff. So yeah, Russian's having real trouble. He had map control for a while, but looks like he's probably going to get pushed off. Not having his units sort of on the move all the time. What's nice for him is that the Oster hasn't contested this fuel at all, whereas we had a fair amount of Soviet contestation of this fuel. So in terms of fuel, he's got 84 and taking up to tier 2 right now, whereas the Oster is just at 52 and he's only got the tier that he built originally. So going to be a little delayed on the fuel for there. We'll keep an eye on what this MG42 is up to. Do they see these people? Well, of course they see it capping, so he knows he's there. So he just has to hope these conscripts will fall right into his trap. Unluckily for him, Dave is not keeping... Oh no, I do this all the time. The building's almost built and then you move the people away. You really just want to shift click, because then they're not gonna... If you give them a waypoint, or yeah, a waypoint after the building, then they're never gonna abandon it halfway through. But like I said, all the time I leave my buildings like that. So Dave realizes belatedly, and so he moves his... What's going on? None of his people are moving. Dave's just... Dave needs to keep those guys moving. Every second counts. There we go, finally built. What are we going to have out of the support weapon Campania? He hasn't really seen much evidence of what the Oster is up to. Uberang in to try and stop the decap, but it doesn't even work. And, that's unfortunate, because these do give you fuel and munitions, so you do want to stop the decap on them. If this was original company heroes, you wouldn't have to care, really, unless there's a cutoff. You would lose a bit of manpower income, but it probably wouldn't be worth, like, getting yourself beat up or anything. But I think he just burned to death one of his own men with that Molotov that didn't do anything. So Oster, oof, grenade didn't do anything, forcing reposition. Oster trying to take over the map, doing not a horrible job, but this really good engineer squad over here has been holding off everyone sent to them, and now it looks like Dave might be back into the game, and of course he just built tier 2 to tech up to tier 3. So interesting tier 2, tier 3 strategy, skipping the more common tier 1 and tier 4 for the Soviets. Tier 1 common because you get the scout car, which is a clown car, and tier 4 common because the Su-85 is in terms of what most people think pretty much required versus the Oster once they get the heavier tanks out. You can probably make it work with just AT guns and T-34s, but it's probably more cost effective to eventually tech up to tier 4, get an Su-85 and just destroy everything the Oster has. So here we go, teching choice by Noise of Carpet. He's gone for a half track, and this will probably be a Flammenwaffe at any moment now. Just got the munitions, and now he doesn't have the munitions because he just spent it on something, I don't know. But he's also building a pack, the Oster is, because he hasn't seen any teching from the Soviets. Man, both players just, it seems like we have a lot of infantry, neither of them going for the vehicle heavy metagame that we're so used to. Finally, with this half track, we do have a vehicle right for the Oster, but it took him quite a while, and it's not even going up to Flammenwerfer right now, so that's kind of weird. And oof, that's a really unfortunate retreat right there. It would have been, he loses the squad. Would have been better to move out the back of this thing and then hop over the fence. Units, of course, are not going to hop over fences in the retreat. Nice dodge there from Dave. Heard the grenade coming. Units are not going to hop over fences on the retreat. And there's a thread on the COH2.org forum, someone saying, like, should they not? And there's a lot of discussion there. There's pretty much no way to do it, right? I mean, I guess you could tell them just, like, hop over stuff on the retreat, but that would potentially get them killed, because it takes them a while to hop over things. What's going up here? I don't know what they're whining about. Seems like they were whining about a flamethrower or something. So Dave does his best to try and stay in the fight, but he can't, and he's pushed off with both these conscript squads. This one down to 6, down to 5 men, and really low health, so we'll go back in a second to see down to 4 men. Yeah, once you get down to that low health, he'll take a lot of damage, even on the retreat, and he doesn't have healing. at his base. So his conscripts are really going to get chewed up as we go further and further into the game, and it's a quick T70, so that's what you want from your tier 3 if you rush your tier 3. 10 minutes not a bad time for T70, but unfortunately his opponent anticipated it, and first and second pack shot and dead. So nice job with the Austere getting a 4-man pack squad up, and we also have one of these. So both players not making effective use of their light vehicles. This half-track mostly used for reinforcing in the field. Wow, nice. Bombard on this is actually maybe going to take out the MG42. That's funny. It would be nice if he could recruit it, but all his infantry is back in his base. He needs to get them out here onto the field. Look at their tremendously low health. He's just going to pay for that at some point sooner rather than later, probably, especially now that the Panzer Grenadiers are here. We've got the teching from the Austere. He's up to tier 1, tier 2. I might give up my Crusade to call this tier 1, even though Relic clearly calls it tier 1, but I don't know, I'll just call it tier 1/tier 2. It's the Panzer Grenadier building. So that's all the teching he'll have for a while. He didn't dump much fuel into it, right? He only dumped 30 fuel into the half-track. He hasn't bought anything else out of it. Has certainly dumped a lot of manpower into it, right? The pack and the Panzer Grenadiers, but he's definitely got the fuel to tech up to whatever he wants from this point forward, sitting at 140. So both players, it seems like, being really, really reactionary with their teching choices, but the thing about that is that if you're really reactionary to your opponent, then and your opponent's reactionary to you, then nothing ever happens, right? We eventually saw a T70 forced from the fast tier 3 that Dave had, and probably he was rushing that from the beginning, but it didn't do anything for him, and if anything, we would have imagined that's probably what would have been forced out of Dave from the choice to tech to a half-track from Silsbenik/Noise of Carpet. Dave also should have checked when he picked the Doctrine. It can't have been too recent unless he just hates PPSHs and also hates Hit the Dirt, because he hasn't been using either of those. This is going to be painful. Oh man, recruise the thing and they're going to get immediately DP'd. Look at that. Look at that. Is it going to die? Man, he needs to focus fire that with the pen. No, he's letting his opponent get out there, and then instead he focuses on the Hit the Dirt people. Throws a grenade, kills 3 of his own men. I have to say that's not the best use of the bundle grenade that I've ever seen. That turned pretty much a win for the Austere into a huge loss. That was really bad. He should have first focus fired the MG42, killed that thing, would have almost bought him a squad for the trouble, and then second, not bundle grenaded all of his own men. Grenades can, in fact, friendly fire, and it did, in fact, friendly fire. So please be careful with your grenades. This is a public service announcement from Tycho. Don't do that. Has the mortar killed anybody yet? Nope. Surprise. Like I said, got nerfed. I think it got nerfed. At least the 120mm mortar got nerfed. I'm not sure if the normal Soviet mortar got nerfed or not. We'll have to go check. So conscript package upgraded. And by package, I don't mean their dick. I mean they got the PPSH machine gun. So probably Dave had not chosen his Doctrine choice until really recently. Otherwise, he would have bought these conscript guns because he hasn't been spending his munitions on anything else other than mines and Molotovs. So this suggests that the Guards Rifle Doctrine was not forced by the half-track. Like, when he saw the half-track, he didn't go, oh shit, I need Guards Rifle, and choose the Doctrine. In fact, just now he's calling him the first Guards. So whether his plan all along was the fast T70 or whether the T70 was partially in a response to the half-track, it doesn't really matter because the end result is that both players still fairly reactionary teching choices. So I say that the Doctrine choice was not reactionary, but what I mean was, in terms of why did he build the T70, whether he had it going in his brain going into the game, or whether he built it because he's like, maybe I'll take out this half-track with it instead of waiting for a T-34. It sort of doesn't matter, because the T-70 didn't end up doing anything except partially countering the half-track, and then it got blown up. So let's see what the Austere is up to in terms of teching, because Dave doesn't have the fuel to do anything. Austere still floating a lot of fuel, 147. I feel like, what did he spend the fuel on? Because he hasn't spent it in a while. Oh, there we go. He teched up to this thing. So that's, of course, the only thing he's going to tech up to. There's no point in teching up to tier 5 or 4 or 3 or whatever the hell, because there's nothing you want to buy out of the Heavy Panzer Corps. So, or Corps. I'm not sure if it's Corps, because it's K-O-R-P-S. What is the German for Corps? So, yeah, are we going to see a Panzer IV, an Ostwind, or a shitty Stug? Probably not a shitty Stug. So, turns out it's Panzer IV. So, yeah, everybody likes the Panzer IV. Look at the cost. Ostwind, 320, 115. Panzer IV at 320, 115. So it's tough to justify an Ostwind when your opponent, this thing might die. Finally turned into a Flammenwerfer. It's only got 3 kills. I feel like it got at least 1 or 2 of them with its machine gun before it turned into a Flammenwerfer. So yeah, just bizarre metagame for both players. Neither of them doing what most people expect, which is Clown Car for Soviets and Fast Scout Car or Half-Track to counter Clown Car. Instead we see a Mortar Half-Track, interestingly enough, to go along with the Panzer. So German Mortar is slightly better now because they have the 4-man buff, but he doesn't have, or I guess he doesn't have the manpower to dump into it. You save 40 manpower by going with the Mortar Half-Track because you pay for it in fuel. And I suppose he figured, look, once I got my Panzer IV, that's going to be the big fuel expenditure for a while, so I might as well get a mobile mortar half-track, do some real damage. Might be able to really hurt these people. There's a lot of infantry in here. He knows where the AT gun is, I suspect, and he probably knows where the mortar is too because it's been firing at him. He's got some people in this building, so he has to be careful. A mortar can really collapse those churches. It seems to be fairly random. Sometimes you can die in one mortar hit. At least that happens to the church on Kolodny Ferma. And that's something really bad. This might be really unfortunate for the Austrian player who's using this completely unsupported. One hit from the ZIS takes it down to 1/3 health, maybe a quarter health, and finally it's out of there. So he's bombarding nothing, finally got a hit that would have maybe been sort of close to the AT. Man, just a real lack of like, oh, I told you, one fucking mortar shell and the entire MG42 team is dead, the church is dead. That's bullshit, Relic, that's bullshit. Why does that happen? It should not be like down to random luck of the draw, rather when a single mortar kills your entire squad and the building or not. That's just dumb. So I guess these people hit a mine. Or they got AT grenaded. God, it's so dumb. Now we have incendiary shells from this mortar, but it's probably fucked. It's gonna get AT grenaded. Nope. Managed to pull out before then. So nice job there. And wow, nice hit from the mortar going in. So yeah, I was about to say no really big battles in this match so far. Just like weird little small skirmishes everywhere. Nice micro here, gets him around the AT gun just in time. Might eat an AT grenade here. Does indeed eat an AT grenade here. So now things are going to look pretty bad. Doesn't get hit by this AT gun, which decided to shoot at the infantry because target priorities are really fucked up in this game. And boom, now the main gun's destroyed. Does that actually kill the flamethrower? Well, it's tough to know. Presumably main gun destroyed kills the flamethrower because there is no other gun on that thing once it's upgraded. Oh no, the PaK-40! What has this Panzer IV been doing on the... Oh right, it's been on the right. So that's an interesting use of the Panzer IV to go on the right. He knows the AT gun wasn't there, right? So he wants to keep the Panzer IV away from the AT gun, presumably, and use it to secure his fuel, and then maybe push further in, but certainly pushing isn't happening. Uh-oh, might lose his pack here. Come on, Panzer IV, breakthrough, boom! Opens up the fence and it's like, surprise! And the conscripts are like, well, we can just AT grenade. Well, we can't actually, it's on cooldown. They're up to Vet 2 now, so oh, I was about to say I hear stuff going on, but it's just the Panzer IV. I guess he's trying to squash some people. Not doing a bad job of it, considering his engine's out. Hasn't crushed any. Okay, now he's just driving it. I don't know what he's doing. Maybe it's a misclick or something. Why are you driving forward? There's an AT gun somewhere down here, don't you know? Now he eats an AT grenade and he realizes it's a horrible mistake and he's backing up. Perhaps he gave it an attack order, and then it just started moving forward, and that couldn't be it. Whatever. Man, huge lack of big battles this game. Very interesting. So, mortar, 2 kills, mortar 5 kills. So finally the Soviet mortar doing some stuff. In terms of map control, Soviet's not doing awful. They've just got their fuel back. So good job from the Oster harassing that. But, you know, Soviets for a while were contesting this over here. So really map has been pretty static for the entire match. Combat has been sort of sparse and weird. It's been one of those maneuvering-based matches rather than one of those like fighting-based matches. It's been won by who's getting the unit from the right. Oh no, it's a grenade. It didn't do anything because it hit the dirt. That's a grenade. That did a lot. Because no, hit the dirt. Ah, hit the dirt. Relic says they're gonna look at that in the next match. So thank God. Even though that's the only thing that's keeping me in games lately.
What do you
Hey, he bought a Maxim, even though it got nerfed. Maxim damage is way down. Between that and the MG42 people getting 4 people in the patch, it's obvious that Relic wants to fix Maxim spam by making the Maxim worse than the MG42 comparatively. Or not worse than, but just worse compared to, or bad at fighting the MG42, right? Because they nerf the Maxim damage and make the MG42 more resilient. But as RTS Shutter over on the COH2.org forums points out, this is not the way you're supposed to balance machine guns, right? You don't look at it in a vacuum and say, I was wondering, like, do we have 2 mortars coming in? That was the vacuum firing. You're not supposed to balance machine guns in a vacuum. The reason the Maxim wins against the MG42 is not because its damage is high enough and the MG42's crew is too low. Because the Maxim, well, I mean, obviously that's one of the reasons it wins, just basic, but like the reason the Maxim wins and it's stupid is because the Maxim can set up and fire while suppressed them in. So that's why it wins fights against the MG42 that it shouldn't be winning. Not because its damage is too high or because the MG42's crew is too weak. But nice super spray, by the way, even with the damage engine. This Pac-40 doing some real work, keeping the shelling up and making these infantry all jump around and stuff. Probably going to get his Panzer IV out of here. Gonna not have much trouble. He's bombarding with the mortar too, so things are looking better for the Germans. Wow, trying to... I'm not sure if he's aiming at infantry and just accidentally hit this, or he's trying to keep them from decrewing it, or he's trying to kill it or something, but now you know. Grenadier grenades do no damage to the CIS, and you can now attack these things. You just hit attack move and click on it, so that's what he did with the Pac-40, destroyed it, so that's a very good move. Very good. Now these guys maybe gonna throw a Molotov or something, eventually hit the dirt, about time. They're close enough to that they're not gonna get rifle grenaded. Now the question is, are these Panzer Grenadiers going to come in? So big loss from the Soviets there, losing his AT gun and not getting anything in return. I don't know why this is driving in all of a sudden, but it looks like the Oster is going to be able to do pretty well cleaning up this engagement because he's got these Panzer Grenadiers here, even though his Grenadiers were forced off. Going to get some good damage on the conscripts, good damage on the guards. So nice win there from the Oster. The question is, can he turn it into something more? Because, oh look, he's got another Panzer IV, so maybe he can, because his map control is looking not so great. These engineers lose a flamethrower when their men got killed over here and exploded. That sort of sucks. Flamethrowers can explode now and you lose the weapon on the squad, and it seems to happen somewhat often. He's going to die on the retreat. He should definitely be chasing, but I guess he's not able to muster it. So as RTS Shutter on the COH2 forum.org forums points out, Relic just made a weird choice. It seems like they're balancing the Maxim versus the MG42, when what you really want is the Maxim loses to the MG42 because it can't set up and while suppressed. So that's the only change that they needed. They didn't need to nerf the Maxim's damage, which was the only thing they had going for it. And they certainly didn't need to buff the MG42 up to 4-man squads, which is a really bizarre choice. But whatever, that's what Relic did to try and balance Maxim's bound. That's the Relic balance. RTS Shutter, by the way, I'm using his name in case you've heard of him before. StarCraft 2, he's the guy who made the game hurt overlay, which is a really sweet spectating overlay that you'll never get anything like that for Company Heroes 2, because you can't really mod the UI, because Relic is so proud of its shitty UI, and eventually we might get Berserker mode though. So Dave did tech up to this Su-35 thing. You can tell in the bottom right. You can always check what buildings the player has built, and then, oh no, it's the mortar's dead. You can always tell what tiers you have and stuff by checking these little tabs in the bottom right. These also correspond to the F1 through the F5 keys. So whenever you're microing in a game or something and you need to build something back at your base, you never ever have to pan back to your base to do that. Just hit the F1 through F5 key and hit whatever corresponds to that. So nice little tip for newer players. Train yourself to only ever use the F1 through F5 keys to select your base buildings, because there's never any reason to go back to your base and select the buildings. Just like you should be training yourself to use hotkeys for literally everything you do. You'll be surprised how vastly your micro will improve, and your macro too. How much better basically you'll get at the game when you train yourself to just use hotkeys all the time. And excellent job by Suspenic running in here. Taking out the Su-85, overextended slightly with his Panzer IV. Now would actually be a perfect time to drive in with his other Panzer IV and crush everybody. That would work perfectly. I'm not sure how he managed to cause this to drop the DP condition. Yeah, so hindsight's 20/20, right? But this would have been just like perfect time to drive in and crush everybody. Half these infantry couldn't even move because they're on setup weapon teams where only 2 people are doing anything, or even 1 man on the Maxim. So since you can now crush weapon team crew members who are just hanging around in the Russian squads that have 6 men, there's so many lying around, that's perfect for your tanks. I guess what he was worried about is since there's conscripts around, he didn't want damaged engines on both of them. And also, he had no way of knowing that more AT wasn't coming, but that could have been, like, complete death blow for Dave, had these Panzer IVs driven in and crushed everybody, so that would have been bad news. Here comes a grenade, and boom, not too much damage on that one. Interesting. Look at these people, they can just stand here directly in front of a Maxim machine gun and fire at it, and they're just killing all the men in it, and it doesn't matter, and now they finally decide to move. Not suppressed yet. Oh, wow. Ends up retreating anyways. Interesting. I guess he saw infantry coming and he's like, the writing's on the wall or something. Should maybe be pulling a bit back a bit with that Panzer IV. The other one's getting nicely repaired. We'll have to see how this lone Panzer IV does against the horde of infantry. So Dave is in some serious trouble as the Russians right now. He does have 120 fuel, so this means when he eventually can buy his Su-85, he won't have to wait for any fuel. He just needs the manpower. But, like, you know, he better get that soon. Luckily, it's actually fairly easy to get this soon, right? Because your manpower is no longer dependent on how much of the map you own. It's just basically all entirely upkeep based. You know, his upkeep's actually pretty bad. He's like 235 out of 300, but as he loses men, that's going to get a bit better. It's not like his income could get much better. Nice couple of AT grenades really hurt the Panzer IV, and maybe these people can get some other hits. It's a little tough to penetrate from the front with the AT rifles, so you want to get around the side. Back and look, now it's got skirts at Vet 2, so Vet 2, just as in the original Company Heroes, Vet 2 will give you side skirts on your Panzer IV, so I think it looks pretty cool with the side skirts. It also looks nice pink. What the fuck is wrong with the gunner? Gunner killed apparently means gunner stuck halfway into the tank, phased in an unholy man-machine monstrosity, but that's too big to fit on the tooltip, so they just put gunner killed. How's this guy doing? Much better. What's enemy fire going on? Oof, a bit of a blub right here. If he had spread out more, perhaps he could have captured some stuff back. As it stands, oh, just lost a conscript squad too. As it stands, I'm not sure quite what he's going for. I guess it's the suicide charge, take out the Pac 40 or something. At this point, I feel like you shouldn't really be sending your infantry marauding into the enemy base trying to do God knows what. What you want is to spread them out, take a lot of the map back, and even if you don't take the map back, you just set yourself up for some flanks and stuff. Because as the game gets sort of into the later stages, you get some heavier stuff out on the field, you have a lot of stuff out on the field, and when you're charging into a lot of stuff or heavier stuff, that's just asking to take massive infantry losses as you move in there as a blob. So flanking and spreading out over the map will really mitigate that. If you can come in from multiple directions, this just gives your opponent a headache in terms of setting up machine guns and stuff like that. So now we have MG42 versus MG42, the most balanced fight in the game, except of course the Russians get to put 6 men on it inexplicably. So the Russians will always win that fight unless, well, I'm not sure. Maybe we're getting suppressive factors into that somehow. It doesn't seem to, which is the original problem with Maxims in the first place, so Relic really have to fix that. So now we have Blitzkrieg used from this tank so it can circle straight around. How's the other Panzer IV doing? Still being repaired, so this is going to have to be a one-man job. Su-85 is trying to do some fancy micro, trying to keep the Panzer IV from doing it, but isn't able to back up enough. Panzer IV stops microing for a second, so that's not good. I guess he's doing other stuff. I think he's crushed somebody, or I don't know. Here we go, this is intense. Panzer IV splits off the last second, so Su-85 takes a pot shot at Panzer Gren. So that was good micro there from Dave, getting his Su-85 close enough to here so the Panzer IV couldn't slip in from here and had to go around the side. But unfortunately for Dave, he wasn't able to quite angle his Su-85 fast enough, and also the Panzer IV just did too much damage, so now the gun's destroyed, and double fix forfeit. Boom, out of control. So that's probably going to be GG. With no Su-85 to counter these 2 Panzer IVs, Dave's just going to be owned up. He's lost his MG42 here. He's actually not dead, but he's being pushed off. Potentially he could make his ZIS do this crazy stuff. But no, we get the smoke pop. So Synthetic Noise and Cockpit bought this smoke doctrine long ago, and Panzer Tactician, probably in the top 5 abilities in the entire game. Number 1 would maybe be Hit the Dirt, but like 2 through 5, in there you'd get Hoorah, you get Smoke, you get maybe Button. What other good skills are there? There's the Sniper Sprint, that's pretty good. It's basically Hoorah, so I'm not counting it. But yeah, Panzer Smoke is just tremendous in terms of a get out of jail free card for your tanks. And yeah, so that's the end for Soviets. 2 more squads dead. GG. So great job by both players. Probably noise of carpet. I would suggest moving your pioneers within the first few seconds of the game. And Dave, I would keep your things on their toes. So rushing tier 3 is sort of a risky thing for Russians these days. The T-70 is really good, but it's also really weak. If it gets countered by your opponent's AT, you're screwed. And although the T-34s are good, so Dave is quit here. So although the T-34s are good, they're not great, and you really have to have a lot more of them than your opponent to take out the German tanks. So it's just a safer proposition to take up to tier 4 for the Su-85, as much as I hate to admit it because I love T-34s, but so probably not having his first T-70 do enough for him was the biggest issue here for Dave, and also not going clown cars, because you know, clown cars can destroy your opponent, especially when it took forever for him to get a half-track out. So I hope you enjoyed this game. Goodbye.